Please join me in welcoming Jason McMaster, a veteran, a survivor, and a neighbor whose journey Good Shepherd has felt honored to be a part of.
First of all, I want to start by thanking all of you for coming out here today. But especially I want to thank Katrina and all the folks at Good Shepherd, because without them, I'd not be here today. And I mean that in more ways than one. You see, I was driving my car when I got the call from Megan at Good Shepherd. And she asked me if I wanted to share my story with my fellow Brunswick Countyans, and I jumped at the chance. Because like you, Brunswick County is my home citizen. I know what it means to be part of this community, and also know what it means to fall through the cracks. I was raised in Sunset Harbor down there south. No, I wasn't born with a pea rake and a clam gauge in my hand, but I could use them by the time I was 5. Playing for 10 cents back then. It was good arcade money. Shoot, I remember when there was only one bridge when I was a guy. Anyway, I graduated South Brunswick High School. It was 1990. I was 18. It was Desert Storm, so I joined the Army and I went off to see the world. And as we all know, the world can be a lot cooler than we imagine. I spent 4 years in the field artillery, a job firing cannons, throwing hand grenades, and learning how to defend this country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Training for combat can be brutal, and I was injured during my service. Add in divorce, loss of loved ones, depression, and sprinkling just a little bit of PTSD. You mix it all up, what do you get? Well, for me, it was an alcoholic, and I was a good one. Years of being a really good alcoholic led me to losing my job, losing my house, and losing my family. It led me to a point in my life where I had nothing left. I had no other options but to live in my car. My car was everything to me, it was all I had. Still, I was an alcoholic, and to deal with all that, I took the last little bit of money I had and I went out and bought 3/5 of liquor. Thankfully, I made it to my destination safely. That destination, unfortunately, was a ditch. Literally, a ditch on the side of Highway 211 in the middle of the green swamp. You all know where the green swamp is, right? So there I am, in the middle of the green swamp, middle of the night, middle of December. I got out of my car to assess the damage. And when I stood up, I was hit with Bell palsy, which is temporary paralysis. So I felt like a sack of potatoes, and for the next 13 hours, I'm lying there face down in the mud, paralyzed basically from the neck down. It was about that time I started to rethink my life and the decisions that I had made. Now, with my military training, I was worried my feet went in the water, so I didn't want to get hypothermia. Eventually, I was able to kind of wiggle worm myself over to a bush, trying to find some warmth, I guess. Every twig break, every leaf rustle was potential danger and had me fearing for my life because I was vulnerable and I couldn't defend myself. Eventually, I was able to low crawl to the car. Low crawl. That's a skill I learned in the Army. I really didn't think I'd use it. When I got to the car, it was too high to get in and I was covered with mud, so it was a big struggle for a long time. I remember crying out and yelling at God because I was still paralyzed, about 40%, halfway down. So after a couple hours of that, I did get in the car. Maybe he helped me. And then after a couple hours of some heavy praying in the car, I got a beep on my phone. I finally got a signal. I was able to call 911. Shortly after that, I got a hold of dispatch, and through dispatch and the deputy, we were able to hone in with his siren, and when he got close enough, I was able to lay on him. I didn't realize it at the time, but my car was so far down in the ditch, you couldn't see it from the road. When the officer got down to me, he tapped on the window and said, "Dude, if I wasn't looking directly at your car when I seen it, I'd have never saw it." I couldn't walk, so they had to carry me out of the ditch. Actually, they had a farmer bring in a four-wheel drive truck. They put me in the truck just to get me over to the EMS. Yay, I was out of that ditch, but wasn't out of trouble. Now I was homeless. All I had was my car, and it was totaled in the ditch. I had nowhere to go. So for the next 9 months, Brunswick County, I couch surfed, lived on the street, eating what I could, when I could, where I could. I was injured, I couldn't work. I was doing the best I could just to survive. Through my contacts at the VA, I heard about a place called Good Shepherd. They had a place for homeless vets called the Sergeant Eugene Ashley Center. It was a shot in the dark, but I threw my hat in the ring. I was desperate, I needed a place to stay. But I didn't really have my hopes up, because we're in Wilmington and I'm here in Brunswick County. They had plenty of people to worry about over there. So I find myself, I'm sitting in the car that I had to borrow in the parking lot of the old Brunswick Hospital there in Supply. VA had a little office there, I'm turning in some paperwork. And at this point, it's not if, but how. And with my OCD, I'm sitting in the car and I'm actually contemplating how much rope I'm gonna need. And I've already picked out the spot out in the woods that I'm gonna go and end it all. And I kid you not, my phone rang. It was Shannon Smith with the VA, and she's in connection with Good Shepherd. And like a voice from heaven, she said, Jason, we have a bed for you at the Ashley Center if you'd like it. I don't know if that call saved my life, but I believe in my heart that it did. I didn't know it then, but about a year later, I did a chance to sit with Shannon and tell her that story. It still took me a couple days to get to the Ashley Center. I didn't even have to ride. Good Shepherd actually sent an Uber all the way to Southport. I'm standing in the parking lot of the Big Lots there in Southport. I'm sure you all remember what Big Lots is. And they picked me up. You know, come to think of it, they didn't give me a ride. They didn't charge me for that ride. But I bet it wasn't free. So here I am. I'm a 50-year-old man standing at the front door of the Ashley Center just a few years before. I had a house. I had a family. I had a job that I had worked for 20 years. And now I'm standing outside a homeless center with nothing but the clothes on my back and a toothbrush thinking, what in the wide, wide world of sports am I doing here? When I got inside, you know, they didn't ask me where I come from. And they didn't ask me what I did to get there. All they asked me was how. How can Good Shepherd help you? How can Good Shepherd help Jason out of this mess? How can Good Shepherd help Jason achieve the goals he needs to achieve to get himself back on his feet? Well, I told them, I need a place to lay my head. A chance to take a breath, get some peace of mind, and contemplate my next move. They said, okay, and they did that. I told them I needed food, substance, nutrition so I could heal and rehab. I needed clothing, counseling, people to help me do my paperwork. And trust me, with the VA, there's a ton of paperwork. I also need people to help me find housing, rides to my medical appointments, AA meetings. I needed rides to church. They did all these things, and it didn't cost me a dime, but I bet it wasn't free. I'll be honest, there was a time I didn't think I was going to get out of that ditch. Not just the one on the side of the road, but the one that my life had fallen into as well. But that call from Good Shepherd, that ride, that bed, and that hot meal, it didn't just save my life, it changed it. Since then, not only have they helped me find secure housing, I'm financially stable, I'm a productive member of society, an active member of my church, and as we speak right now, I'm enrolled at Cape Fear Community College with a future that's bright, filled with endless possibilities. And still today, even 2 years later after leaving the Sergeant Eugene Ashley Center, I go with a group from church every Saturday morning and we cook and serve those vets breakfast. So let me finish with this. If we do nothing, nothing changes. You may not see the ripples it creates, but I'm standing here today because someone out there cared enough to do something. I was worth the investment, and I promise you the next person is too. Brunswick County has a place in all this. Whether you volunteer, donate, or become an advocate, you can make a difference. Every drop in the bucket counts. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to my story.